lessons we will cover for Wednesday, April the 1st. Yesterday we did the introduction for chapter 19, which was using cause and effect, contrast and condition, adverb clause words, transitions, conjunctions, and prepositions. We started also with chart 19.2 using because of and due to. And remember that because of and due to are followed by noun objects. When we use because, it introduces the adverb clause and it's followed by a subject and a verb. So today we're going to start on page 408. And here, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at page 408, exercise number 8, this is a warm-up or introduction to chart 19-3, which features cause and effect using therefore, consequently, and so. And therefore and consequently are transitions. So is a conjunction. So if we look at exercise 8, it says, check the sentences that logically complete the idea of the given sentence. So here's the idea. Nadia likes fresh vegetables. And we have number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Take a minute to put a check mark on the sentences that you think logically complete the idea that Nadia likes fresh vegetables. You also notice the use of the transitions and the conjunctions and the punctuation that follows each. Okay? Okay, so we look at number 1. Since Nadia likes fresh vegetables, therefore, she has a vegetable garden in her yard. Does that logically complete the idea? Yes. Number 2. As a result, she doesn't grow her own vegetables. Does that complete the idea that Nadia likes fresh vegetables? No. Number 3. The idea, Nadia likes fresh vegetables. Therefore, she buys canned vegetables at the store. No, because canned vegetables are not fresh. Number 4. Nadia likes fresh vegetables. As a result, she buys produce from local farmers. Yes, because local farmers will have fresh vegetables. Number 5. Nadia likes fresh vegetables. She eats a lot of frozen vegetables, therefore. No, because these are frozen, these are not fresh. And number 6. Nadia likes fresh vegetables. Consequently, she eats produce from her garden. Yes, because the produce from her garden would be fresh. So, in exercise 8, the idea that Nadia likes fresh vegetables, number 1, 4, and 6 logically complete the idea that she likes fresh vegetables. So, if we look at exercise or chart 19-3, cause and effect using therefore, consequently, and so. Therefore and consequently are transitions. So is a conjunction. One of the important things we have to look at here is notice the punctuation. Okay? So if we look at examples A, B, and C. Al failed the test because he didn't study. Because introduces the adverb clause. B. Al didn't study. Period. Capital T. Therefore, comma, he failed the test. C. Al didn't study. Period. Capital C. Consequently, comma, he failed the test. Notice that therefore and consequently are transitions. You have a period before them because these are two independent clauses. There is no conjunction to connect those ideas. There's a transition. So we use a period and a comma after the conjunction. Look at the explanation. Examples A, B, and C have the same meaning. Therefore and consequently mean as a result. In grammar, they are called transitions or conjunctive adverbs. Transitions connect the ideas between two sentences. They are used most commonly in formal written English and rarely in spoken English. So these forms here for B and C, they're used mostly for formal English, in written formal English. You may use them in speaking, but it's not common to use them in speaking, okay? Now look at D, E, and F. And notice the transition, or the position of the transition in each of these sentences. Look at example D. Al didn't study, period, capital T. Therefore, comma, he failed the test. So here we have the transition, therefore, followed by the subject he, and then failed is the verb, and then the rest of the sentence, the test. Look at example E. Al didn't study, period. He, comma, therefore, comma, failed the test. This one, you have he, the subject, followed by the transition, therefore, and then the verb, failed, and then the rest of the sentence, the test. Letter F. Al didn't study, period. He failed the test, comma, therefore. So here you have subject, he, failed, that's the verb, the test, rest of the sentence, and then your transition at the end. So all three sentences have the same meaning, all three are correct. The position of the conjunction can come at the beginning of the sentence, in the middle after the subject, or at the end. Throughout this, you use commas to separate the conjunction from the subject and the verb or the rest of the sentence. A transition occurs in the second of two related sentences. Notice the patterns and punctuation in the examples. A period, not a comma, is used at the end of the first sentence. So here we have period, period, period. Excuse me. The transition has several positions in the second sentence. It is separated from the rest of the sentence by commas. So see here, at the beginning, therefore, comma, you failed the test. In the middle, he, comma, therefore, comma, failed the test. And at the end, he failed the test, comma, therefore. Letter G. Al didn't study, comma, so he failed the test. So is used as a conjunction between two independent clauses. It has the same meaning as therefore, except this is a conjunction. Therefore, we are able to use a comma, not a period. So is common in both formal, written, and spoken English. A comma usually precedes so when it connects two sentences, as in G. So the comma comes before, not a period. Okay? A semicolon is also possible in this situation. Al didn't study, semicolon, lowercase t. Therefore, comma, he failed the test. Okay? And this says, see the footnote to chart 19-4. So we'll look at that in a few minutes. So in exercise 9, it says, rewrite the sentence with the given words. Punctuate carefully. The runner can compete in races because he wears a special blade attached to his knee. So here, this is my adverb clause. Because he wears a special blade attached to his knee, right here, this is your adverb clause. So you're going to use that to introduce, okay, the clause, okay? So we're going to use for number 1 and 2 transitions, and number 3 the conjunction so. So here in number 1, look at the cause. Here the runner can compete in races because he wears a special blade attached to his knee. Now we have to find the cause, okay, and then the effect. So here you're going to say, instead of he, you're going to put the runner. So you're going to say, the runner wears a special blade attached to his knee, period. Therefore, comma, he can compete in races. Go ahead and do number 2 with consequently, and then number 3. Now remember, use the cause and then followed by the effect, okay? Like we did here. The runner wears a special blade attached to his knee. This part here, ladies and gentlemen, is the cause. So he said, the runner wears a special blade attached to his knee, period. Therefore, comma, he can compete in races. Okay? Do the same for consequently. Okay? So then, we're going to say, the runner wears a special blade attached to his knee, period. Consequently, comma, he can compete in races. Again, the cause. The runner wears a special blade attached to his knee, period. The effect. Consequently, comma, he can compete in races. Now for number 3, this is a conjunction, not a transition. So here we're going to use a different punctuation mark. Go ahead and do number 3. Okay, so again the cause. The runner wears a special blade attached to his knee. So you can say the runner wears a special blade attached to his knee, comma, so he can compete in races, period. Again, the cause, the runner wears a special blade attached to his knee, comma, conjunction, so he can compete in races, period. It's always important to find the cause, and then it's followed by the effect, ladies and gentlemen. So we go to page 409. Exercise 10. Looking at grammar. This is a review from charts 17-3, 19-2, and 19-3. Punctuate the sentences. Add capital letters as necessary. Note, 2 sentences need no changes. So, if you look over here, numbers 1 and 2 deal with adverb clauses. 3 and 4, prepositional phrases. 5 and 6, transitions. And 7, conjunctions. So you're going to add you're going to punctuate the sentences and you're going to capitalize as necessary, but two of those sentences have no change. So let's do number 1 and 2 together. Because it was cold, she wore a coat. Now, my adverb clause is going to be because she was cold, followed by the main clause. So what do we need? We need a comma right here. So after the adverb clause, because it was cold, comma, she wore a coat. Now we look at number 2. She wore a coat because it was cold. Do we need any punctuation marks? No, because this particular case, she wore a coat is the main clause. Then it's followed by the adverb clause, so no comma, no punctuation is necessary. Go ahead and do number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Okay, let's look at number 3, ladies and gentlemen. This is dealing with a prepositional phrase. Okay? So here, because of the cold weather, she wore a coat. And here, this part here, because of the cold weather, actually it should be all the way over here. This is your prepositional phrase, and it comes before the main clause. So you're going to say, because of the cold weather, comma, she wore a coat. Now look at number 4. Again, prepositional phrase. She wore a coat because of the cold weather. Here, the main clause is first, followed by the prepositional phrase. So no comma is necessary. Just like in number 2. Transitions. Number 5. The weather was cold, therefore she wore a coat. So you have 2 independent clauses, and here this is a transition here. The weather was cold, period, capital T. Therefore, comma, she wore a coat, period. Again, the weather was cold, period, capital T. Therefore, comma, she wore a coat, period. Number 6, another transition. The weather was cold, period, capital S. She wore a coat, comma, therefore, period. The transition comes at the end of the sentence here. Again, the weather was cold, period, capital S. She wore a coat, comma, therefore, period. And conjunction. The weather was cold, comma, so she wore a coat, period. Again, the weather was cold, comma, so she wore a coat, period. Now, exercise 11 is similar to exercise 10, where you're going to punctuate the sentences and you're going to add capital letters as necessary. And this is talking about a storm. Okay? That's the theme, a storm. So you're going to do number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we'll check in a couple of minutes. Punctuate periods, capital letters, commas, okay? Don't change or omit any words. Okay, let's look at number 1. Freezing rain fell in the city. It was unsafe to walk outside because of slippery streets and falling branches. So you're going to say, freezing rain fell on the city, period. Capital I. It was unsafe to walk outside because of slippery streets and falling branches. Here we have a prepositional phrase, because of slippery streets and falling branches, but it comes after the main clause. It was unsafe to walk outside. So there's no punctuation here in this part, but in the beginning, freezing rain fell in the city, you use a period and you capitalize it, the I. It was unsafe to walk outside because of slippery streets and falling branches. Number 2, another prepositional phrase. Due to improvements in weather forecasting, people knew about the storm well in advance. So you say, okay, the prepositional phrase is first, followed by the main clause. So you're going to say, due to improvements in weather forecasting, comma, people knew about the storm well in advance. The prepositional phrase comes first, so you're going to use a comma, and then it's going to continue on with the main clause. Number 3, the storm damaged the power lines. Consequently, the town was without electricity. Here we're using consequently, so we know it's a transition. The storm damaged the power lines, period, capital C. Consequently, comma, the town was without electricity. Could you use a semicolon? Yes, of course. The storm damaged the power lines, semicolon. Consequently, comma, the town was without electricity. The only difference when you use a semicolon instead of a period, you don't capitalize the transition word. But you still need to put a comma after it. And the next one, number 4. Due to the snowstorm, only 2 students came to class. The teacher, therefore, canceled the class. Here, there are several possibilities. So the first one here, due to the snowstorm, comma, only 2 students came to class, period. And then capital T. The teacher, comma, therefore, comma, canceled the class, period. So you have 2 sentences. And again, the first one starts with a prepositional phrase. Due to the snowstorm, comma, this is the main clause, only 2 students came to class, period. And then capital T, since we use the period over here. Capital T, the teacher, comma, therefore, comma, canceled the class, period. If we look at exercise 12, check the sentences that have the correct punctuation. You have sentences 1, 2, 3, and 4. Read each one and put a check mark on the ones that have correct punctuation. Okay, so in number 1, some doctors recommend yoga for their patients, period, because it can lower stress. Is this correct? No. There should not be a period and no capital letter. Number 2, because yoga can lower stress, some doctors recommend it for all their patients. Is this correct? No. Here, because yoga can lower stress, comma, Some doctors recommend it for their patients. There is no comma here, so it's not punctuated correctly. Number 3, yoga can lower stress, period. Capital S. Some doctors, comma, therefore, comma, recommend it for their patients. Is this correct? Yes, it is. Here you have one complete sentence, independent clause. Yoga can lower stress, period. And then some doctors, there's your subject, comma, there's your transition, therefore, comma, recommended for their patients, period. And number 4, yoga can lower stress, comma, so some doctors recommend it for their patients. Here we're using the conjunction, so we use a comma before. So the only 2 correct sentences that are punctuated correctly are numbers 3 and 4. So now we go to page 410. Here's the summary, ladies and gentlemen, of patterns and punctuation. Okay? The patterns will give us the position of the adverb clauses, prepositions, and transition words, and also conjunctions, and what kind of punctuation we use with them. Okay? So if we look at example A and B, these are with adverb clauses. Look at example A. Because it was hot, comma, we went swimming. The adverb clause comes first, followed by the main clause, therefore, we use a comma. And B, we went swimming because it was hot. So here, you're going to use the main clause first, and then followed by the adverb clause, therefore, no comma is necessary. An adverb clause may precede or follow an independent clause. That means precede, come before the main clause, or come after the independent clause. Punctuation. A comma is used if the adverb clause comes first. So if the adverb clause comes first, like in example A, we use a comma. Okay? If it comes after the independent clause, no comma is necessary. Letter C. Because of the hot weather, comma, we went swimming. This is a prepositional phrase. And we went swimming because of the hot weather. A preposition is followed by a noun object and not by a subject and verb. So here, because of, that's your preposition. The hot weather, this is your noun object. It's not subject and verb. Okay? So look at the punctuation. A comma is usually used if the prepositional phrase precedes the subject and verb of the independent clause. So if the prepositional phrase comes first, okay, if it comes first, you use a comma followed by the independent clause. But if it comes after the independent clause, no comma is necessary. Okay? Transitions. Examples E, F, G, and H. It was hot, period. Capital T. Therefore, comma, we went swimming. F. It was hot, period. We, comma, therefore, comma, went swimming. Letter G. It was hot, period. We went swimming, comma, therefore. And letter H. It was hot, semicolon, lowercase t, therefore, comma, we went swimming. A transition is used with the second sentence of a pair. It shows the relationship of the second idea to the first idea. A transition is movable within the second sentence, like here at the beginning of the second sentence, in the middle of the second sentence that comes between the subject and the verb, or at the end. You have subject, verb, rest of sentence, and then the transition at the end. Punctuation. A semicolon may be used in place of a period as in H. You use it only if the transition word is at the beginning of the second sentence, okay? You would not put it here, here, okay? Or here. You would put it right here only if it's at the beginning. A period is used between the two independent clauses in examples E through G. A comma is not possible. Commas are usually used to set the transition off from the rest of the sentence, like therefore, comma, or we, comma, therefore, comma, or we went swimming, comma, therefore. Okay? So you use the commas to separate the transition from the rest of the sentence, but not, you would not use the comma within the two sentences. Instead, we have to use a period. Conjunctions. It was hot, comma, so we went swimming. A conjunction comes between two independent clauses. It was hot is one independent clause. We went swimming is another independent clause. When you connect them, you use a conjunction, but you use a comma before the conjunction. The comma is used immediately in front of the conjunction, not after, but in front. Look, here's a footnote at the bottom of this chart, 19.4. In general, a semicolon can be used instead of a period between any two sentences that are closely related in meaning. Example, peanuts are not nuts, semicolon, they are beans. Notice that a small letter, not a capital letter, immediately follows a semicolon. Okay? So if we look at exercise 13. In exercise 13, we're going to use information from charts 17.3 and 19-4. Choose all the correct sentences. Some may have only one, some may have two, but none have three. Okay? So let's do number one together. A. It is important to wear a hat on cold days, comma, since we lose 60% of our body heat through our head. What do you think? Is that correct or incorrect? It is incorrect because we have a comma here. Here we have the main clause first, followed by the adverb clause, so the comma does not belong. Look at example B. Since we lose about 60% of our body heat through our head, comma, it is important to wear a hat on cold days. Yes, this is correct because the adverb clause is first, followed by the main clause. So we're going to use a comma because the adverb clause is first. Look at example C. It is important to wear a hat on cold days since we lose about 60% of our body heat through our head. This is correct because there's no punctuation needed here because the adverb clause comes after the main or independent clause. So no punctuation is correct. Is needed, I'm sorry. So letters B and C are correct. Go ahead and do numbers 2, 3, and 4 on page 411. We'll check in a minute. Okay, let's look at number 2. Bill's car wouldn't start, semicolon, therefore, comma, he couldn't pick us up after the concert. Is this correct? Yes, we may use a semicolon before the transition and then the comma. So this is correct. Letter B. Bill's car wouldn't start, period. Capital T. Therefore, comma, he couldn't pick us up after the concert. What do you think? Is this correct? Yes. There's two independent clauses. Bill's car wouldn't start, period. And then we have, therefore, he couldn't pick us up after the concert. You notice that there's a period here before the transition, then capital T, and then you separate the transition from the rest of the sentence, subject, verb, and rest of sentence, with a comma. So in number 2, A and B are correct. Let's look at number 3. Bill's car wouldn't start, comma, therefore, comma, he couldn't pick us up after the concert. Ask yourself, is the punctuation correct here? It is not, because we're using a transition word. Bill's car wouldn't start. So here, Bill's car wouldn't start, comma, therefore, comma. We cannot use a comma to separate one independent clause with the other with a transition. It has to be either a period, like in B, or semicolon, like in A. Number 3, A. When I was in my teens and 20s, comma, it was easy for me to get into an argument with my father because both of us can be stubborn and opinionated. So here, this is your adverb clause of time. When I was in my teens and 20s. There's your comma. When introduces the adverb clause of time. When I was in my teens and 20s, comma, it was easy for me to get into an argument with my father because both of us can be stubborn and opinionated. Look at B. When I was in my teens and 20s, comma, it was easy for me to get into an argument with my father, period. Capital B, because both of us can be stubborn and opinionated. This one is not correct because we use a period after father. And then we capitalize because. Because is not capitalized. Since this comes after the main clause, you cannot have a punctuation mark, period in this case, and no capital letter. And letter C. When I was in my teens and 20s, comma, it was easy for me to get into an argument with my father, comma, because both of us can be stubborn and opinionated. This one is not correct also because here follows the main clause. So no comma is necessary. Okay? Let's look at number 4. In number 4, A. Robert got some new business software that didn't work, semicolon. So he emailed the software company for technical support. Is the use of the semicolon correct here? No. You can use a comma, but not a semicolon, okay, with the conjunction so. Remember, you can use the semicolon with transitions only, okay, but not with conjunctions. So A is not correct. Letter B. Robert got some new business software that didn't work, comma, so he emailed the software company for technical support. If you look at the comma here and ask yourself, is this punctuated correctly? Yes, because we use a comma before the conjunction so. Letter C. Robert got some new business software that didn't work, so he emailed the software company for technical support. There is no punctuation mark. Is that correct? No. We need a comma, just like in letter B. So the only correct one for number 4 is letter B. All right. We're not going to do exercise 14, but let's look at exercise 15, ladies and gentlemen. Combine each pair of ideas with the words in parentheses. Did you know? Okay. So here, let's do number 1 together. Okay? And if you look at the words in parentheses, like in this case, due to the fact that we have to place it in the correct position in the sentence. Okay? We have to place it in the correct position. Okay? So, number 1, did you know a camel can go completely without water for 8 to 10 days? It is an ideal animal for desert areas. So you can say, you're going to use due to the fact that, you're going to start it at the beginning, right here. So you're going to say, due to the fact that a camel can go completely without water for 8 to 10 days, comma, lowercase I, it is an ideal animal for desert areas, period. Okay? You can also say a camel is an ideal animal for desert areas due to the fact that it can go completely without water for 8 to 10 days, period. Okay? So this, due to the fact that, can go at the beginning. If you use it at the beginning, you're going to change this capital A to lowercase a. Due to the fact that a camel can go completely without water for 8 to 10 days, comma, lowercase I, it is an ideal animal for desert areas, period. Go ahead and do number 2, 3, and 4, please. In number 2, we're using since. Number 3, due to, consequently, and number 4, because. Okay, let's look at number 2. A tomato is classified as a fruit, but most people consider it a vegetable. It is often eaten in salads along with lettuce, onions, cucumbers, and other vegetables. So here, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to make some changes, especially in punctuation, because since is going to go right here in the middle. So you're going to start with, a tomato is classified as a fruit, but most people consider it a vegetable. Since, no period, and no comma, lowercase I, since it is often eaten in salads along with lettuce, onions, cucumbers, and other vegetables. Period. Again, a tomato is often classified as a fruit, but most people consider it a vegetable. since, no period, no capital I. It is often eaten in salads along with lettuce, onions, cucumbers, and other vegetables, period. Number 3, we're going to use due to and consequently. So we're going to use 2 of them. So number 3, there is a consumer demand for ivory. Many African elephants are being slaughtered ruthlessly. Many people who care about saving these animals from extinction refuse to buy any item made from ivory. So the first one that we're going to use is due to. That's going to go at the beginning of the sentence. Okay? And we're going to, due to is going to replace there. Okay, there is. So you're going to say, due to a consumer demand for ivory, okay, comma, lowercase m, many African elephants are being slaughtered ruthlessly, period. And then you're going to say, consequently, comma, lowercase m, many people who care about saving these animals from extinction refuse to buy any item made from ivory, period. Again, due to a consumer demand for ivory, comma, lowercase m, many African elephants are being slaughtered ruthlessly, period. Capital C, consequently, comma, lowercase m, many people who care about saving these animals from extinction refuse to buy any item made from ivory, period. Number 4. Number 4, we're going to use because. So, if we look at this, we're going to use it at the beginning. Because, capital B, because, lowercase m, most 15th century Europeans believed the world was flat and the ship could conceivably sail off the end of the earth, comma, lowercase m, many sailors at the time refused to venture forth with explorers into unknown waters. So again, because is at the beginning, so that's going to introduce your adverb clause. Capital B, because, lowercase m, most 15th century Europeans believed the world was flat and that a ship could conceivably sail off the end of the earth, comma, lowercase m, many sailors of the time refused to venture forth with explorers into unknown waters. Now we're going to go ahead and introduce exercise 16 for a warm-up, and this is going to go with chart 19.5 for tomorrow. But here, you're going to match numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 with examples A, B, C, and D to make a humorous saying. So create a humorous saying by matching a phrase on the left with the one on the right. So if you look at, it's such a hot day that I could, letter D, fry an egg on the sidewalk. And if you look at the picture here, trying to fry an egg on the sidewalk, especially around here in June, July, early August, it gets very hot. Look at number 2. I'm so hungry that I could, what do you think? A, B, or C? I'm so hungry that I could eat a horse. Number 3. He is such a rich man that he, A or B? That he buys a new boat when one gets wet, letter A. And number 4. This is an exaggeration. She is so sick that she needs 2 beds. If you're sick, you only need 1 bed, not 2. Okay? So, number 1, it's such a hot day that I could, letter D, fry an egg on the sidewalk. Number 2, I'm so hungry that I could, letter C, eat a horse. Number 3, he is such a rich man that he, A, buys a new boat when one gets wet. And number 4, she is so sick that she needs, letter B, 2 beds. Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And please be on the lookout for a handout that I'm going to submit for you to complete. Okay, that's coming soon. We're also going to try to do an interactive class and on Blackboard Collaborative, and that's coming soon also. Have a good day. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Take care.